Hello and welcome to the Friend or FoF Lounge. I am Sharigan, and today I have joining me on our very wonderful show today. We have RLS's Anti, UB's JeffGodGamer, and the one, the only BBZ Red. Guys, thank you so much for dropping by, and hope you guys are doing pretty well.
Yeah, you know, it's a pleasure to be here. Always happy to be a part of FOF.
No, definitely. We got some new faces here. We're trying to change things up a little bit, get a little bit more going, a little bit more extra information, as you will, getting some of these players involved. So just real quickly, we're just going to go ahead and recap our. This is going to be talking about Helios. So we had the first set of games play out. I think it was an absolutely fantastic series. Like, we had some really, really good games. That first one in general, Terracotta Gaming versus Restless Leg Syndrome. Anti. What were you doing behind the screen that just made you so cracked that game? I mean, seriously.
Honestly, going into heroic, just in general, honestly, like throughout last season and this season, one of the things I've been focusing on, because outside of laning phase, I'm one of our team's primary shot callers. So that's not like learning macro and other things like that is something I've always been practicing. But adding on to that, I've been practicing my laning, because in the Mythic League, one of the things I realized is, as a top laner, the mechanical skill difference is more apparent than any other lane, because if you die once, you die the rest of the laning phase. And laning fundamentals matter so much more than other lanes in my opinion.
That's really, really true. And then just because we've got two players here who I know you guys both watched his game, do you think, like, it definitely seems like RLS is doing a lot better than they were last season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, not having to play against like Masters and Challenger players help a lot for RLS. You can still see in the games, you know, from playing in Mythic, they're still a little shaky on closing games out, which I think is something that you just get better at once you aren't 10k gold down at 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, BBZ is probably, as far as I know, the team that scrimmed against RLS the most, at least this season.
I believe so.
And between our two scrim sets, like, the amount of level up that happened was like, I was like, wow, this is the same team. Like, do they have new players on the same accounts? Like, it was just completely night and day between those two sets, and they've improved a ton, and we were able to see it, especially in day two.
Especially in day two, absolutely. And right here, I've actually got a clip pulled up right now, so we're gonna go ahead and watch this real quick, just to showcase just what it was we saw Anti doing.
Top lane, we got Anti. Is he gonna live? Oh, I don't know if he's gonna live. We're on a suspense train for that one. Ryan, break this one down. Third, please.
Where are we at? Okay, we're watching the solo fight. All right, the flip. Oh, he can't send the ult back. That's tragic. He gets the wall stun, the flash follow up, and then he pins him with the pillar, and then the minions follow up. There's no way he dies, right?
Oh my god.
I
still can't
believe you didn't die.
Yeah, so passive is kind of busted.
Yeah, just take Revitalize.
That was a great ult.
Yep.
It's absolutely nuts, and then you just barely survive off the pot, which just I love to see every single time. So during that play particularly, like, it just obviously, like, is what exactly is going through your mind at that moment? Like, as you're about to go in, are you like calculating? You're like, either, oh, I'm totally gonna go down, or it's like, nah, I got this, I'm gonna be fine.
Honestly, going into it, the first thing that goes through my mind is, okay, well, I know I can kill him here. If I trade, is that going to be bad? If I flash here, is there a time that I'm going to need it? So the first thing that goes through my head is, you know, does this make sense in terms of like gold value? After that, it's just, well, I know I'm going to get the kill no matter what. I just have to make sure to play it as well as possible. And then, you know, if I live, I live. If I die, I die.
Let's see here. Yeah, I was making sure I had the right draft up. So basically, it looked like, just looking at this draft, is like, I look at the two teams, and one of the things I noticed that was really interesting about this game was we had a Helios pop up. Helios has been kind of one of those champions who he always seems to drift in and out. So it's like, I kind of want to go to my ADCs here. What do you think, like, about just this champion, as he in a really good spot right now? Because he seems like he was popping off kind of crazy over these past couple of games.
Yeah, Aphelios got a string of buffs of multiple patches in a row, and players just kind of found out a really good item combination on him, going Collector second with Lethality Max second on Aphelios, and you're just able to pump out a ton of damage. And so Aphelios is really good when you compare him with a very safe bot lane. The most common example of the last week in FoF is Braum, Thresh, where they don't really have to play the lane though. They can just avoid lane and look to scale up and then team fight later in the game. So he's just a really strong late game champion that probably outdamages most AD carries if he has perfect guns and items are even. So he's definitely a champion I'd look to see more of, especially now that a couple AD carries are weaker after the Wits End nerfs.
Yeah,
and I know that you're mid lane now, but Red, I understand.
Yeah. You can also do like shield bow into LDR, and it puts out relatively similar damage to the other build, but you're a bit safer. And even though the Wits End nerfs did come through, after level 9, it's actually the same exact item. So you can still transition to it, second or third item, depending on when you're doing it. So that build's actually still going to be viable for a lot of AD carries, Aphelios included. I think he's just a really good AD carry. You know, they shifted a lot of his power into his abilities rather than purely on chakrams. While the chakrams still do a ton of damage, as we saw in Luna League. A lot more of his power was moved into the abilities, which is why these lethality and penetration builds have started popping up in high level play. But yeah, he's just a great scaling champion, and if you can pilot him, you know, he has a lot of good matchups in the meta right now.
Yeah, he just kind of does it all based off your guns. You know, you can have a engage with Gravitium, you can have your hyper carry with your Severum Chakram. So he just fits into almost every situation, whereas most AD carries only specialize in like one or two situations. So he's just very strong.
Yeah, one of the things that I also want to bring up with this draft is actually kind of interesting because it's talking like Aphelios kind of coming into the meta. We had on Terracotta Gaming, they picked up the Jarvan jungle. Obviously, Jarvan jungle is not uncommon. It's something that we've kind of seen for a long time. It just kind of goes in and out. With the changes being done to Viego, do you think that means we're going to be seeing a bit more prominence in Jarvan because he seems to kind of fill that same sort of niche?
100%. He just got some buffs that are really good. And there's actually been a lot of Korean pros that have been actually taking up top lane as well. And then Jeff was talking about it earlier. He has some pretty niche pickups in other lanes. I won't leak exactly what he said, but having him as a powerful flex is going to be very valuable. Kind of where Viego was prior to the lane nerfs and prior to the nerfs that happened today.
Yeah, definitely. I also want to give a quick point out to LeBlanc. It's actually been one of the most popular mid picks, being the second most popular mid pick so far across both leagues, and has won every game seemingly pretty convincingly. Having a KDA of 20 across 3 games is pretty good. So it's something that I'm really surprised that FoF players have been able to pilot really well, the ones that have played it. So I expect to see a little bit more of it coming into future weeks.
Yeah, Anti, you could probably talk about this as well, because I think one of the things I've noticed is that some of the more mechanically intensive champions, especially just starting off like LeBlanc, they seem to be making a bit of a, not exactly a comeback, but a bit of a setup. Like they seem to be kind of stepping out lately in terms, especially with friend or foe, like just in general with our past couple of days of games, it seems like that they've shown up. But just in general in the meta, do you think that it has a lot to do with just some of the changes that have been happening, or is it just the skill base of the tournament itself has gotten better?
I mean, a large part of it is going to come from these champions tend to be comfort picks for these players. Like Jovi is very much a LeBlanc player, so we were not surprised to see that come out. And one of the things about these, you know, more mechanical champions that are coming out is that it's more of that they tend to fall in line with the meta. Like LeBlanc is phenomenal for the 2v2 and setting up ganks. One of the best champions at setting up ganks in the mid lane right now, honestly. If we're talking about pre-segs.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. Continue.
I was just along the lines of just, I'm not surprised to see these things come out. Like, you know, we see like LeBlanc, Syndra, you know, more bruisers in the top lane, etc., etc.
Yeah, LeBlanc, similarly to Syndra, like you mentioned, they actually really enjoy having AD junglers. So in this meta where these AD junglers are kind of just terrorizing the jungle right now, they actually like these mid lane prio mages and assassins have a very good place because they can get the priority in the lane, go and help the jungler, and snowball from there.
Yeah, and there was just one other clip I wanted to bring up from this game that I thought was great. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. This is the one right here. This is a beautiful clip. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I gotta watch it over and over once it actually loads. So you got this TP coming in, Anti's coming in to join the fight, grabs the Sejuani so that they can't smite, and you take the Baron. And I love that the smite came out a little bit early in order to basically allow you to do that, where it's just like you're sitting at the whole 1100 and boom. So was that Baron's take planned from your end, like where you're like we're gonna let Set take the Baron and it was just a teamwork play?
I mean, honestly, a large part of it was just along the lines of we saw that there were 3 in the pit, and that Jarvan was low, and the ward was just in the perfect position. So we're deciding, you know what? Once I'm up, I'm just gonna TP in. We'll try to go for stealing the Baron. Whoever gets it gets it. We're so far behind at this point in the game that we have to make something happen because this is more of a game, not a game winning play, but more a game saving play. Like this, if we get the Baron here, we don't instantly lose the game. But if we don't get the Baron here, then we're not in any worse of a position than we already were in.
Right. And unfortunately, that game did end up resulting in a loss. And RLS wasn't able to pull it out that game. However, the next game against Rex, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, that one you guys came out, and that was an intense game. That was just so much fun. But let's go ahead and hop here into the next game, which was... All right, so we had In the Trees versus Coin Flip Gaming, which was... This was a pretty intense one. I mean, going into it, I kind of knew it was going to happen. I just kind of knew, especially having played against Coin Flip and having listened to their comms. It's kind of like I know who In the Trees are. We know how strong they are. Kenny Hammerspike was absolutely ridiculous, though.
Yeah. I think Coin
go
Flip
ahead.
Gaming's draft actually has some identity. You know, you pick reasonably strong laners to try to let Gwen scale up and farm her jungle. But I also think the CFG might have had a mild misread, basically. I know their bans weren't exactly stuff that I would expect to ban playing against INT. Like Fishwish Magish is a very talented set player. It's probably, you see him in the lobby, it's an instant ban for his set. Bo Explode has shown he's one of the best Hecarim players, so it's just stuff that I'm not 100% sure they were completely prepared for this game. But I still do think their draft had an identity, and they just weren't ready to face INT.
So I mean, considering that Coin Flip Gaming is a newer team, they might not have watched some of the games from the previous season. And if you're just looking at the rank stats alone, then the Sejuani makes sense on Bo Explode side.
Yeah, I understand that you think there's an identity in the draft, and there is, but I have a big problem with picking the Camille so early when you could threaten the Gwen as a flex, and then alternatively, you can't blind pick Sona. We learned that the hard way against RLS. It doesn't work. It's not blind pickable. You're just gonna get smashed by some engaged support or support that can get you out. One hook or one engage, the second she dies the first time, it's just gonna happen again and again. So I think enchanters are incredibly strong right now. I don't think you can blind pick them.
That's something I've learned in my solo queue games, where it's like, I'm like, oh, I'll take Sona. It's like, I know that she's supposed to be really strong right now, and then it's all of a sudden you see a Blitzcrank, a Thresh, or a Leona, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, I also wasn't 100% sold on the Caitlyn pick. I think Caitlyn really likes supports that can stun people pre-6 so she can set up a trap.
Yep.
But it is definitely something that I could see Coinflip Gaming sort of looking for. And they were even able to take one fight off of INT. But it's something I'm looking to see how they improve going into this week.
Yeah, the Caitlyn pick seems more like a reflex reflexive pick in comparison to the Samira because of her range difference.
Yep.
The first thing that comes to mind for me is Ashe, but if Caitlyn's their comfort pick and they have that range difference, I can totally understand it. I'd prefer to see a Morgana with it though.
Yeah, you got to have that lockdown just to give her time to set up that trap. Morgana is probably the best one because it's just the longest amount of time they're stuck in one place.
And it's also the only one other than Leona that doesn't displace them in some way and potentially move them out of the trap.
Exactly, because those are always going to be the most frustrating when you're like, I was right where I needed it, and it moved. I'm trying to remember if I had a clip pulled up for this one. I don't believe I did. I know that there's one floating out there where Kenny gets a quadra kill on Samira. So that one was absolutely ridiculous. I'll probably play it right about here.
Explode and friends pushing up the bot lane to pressure this one out as Infernal Dragon comes in 30 seconds. Jono Giovanna getting pulled by the Blitzcrank, followed by the crescendo from Zona Fiend, but Zona Fiend's gonna go down to Fish Magish under the tower. Everyone's bringing very low right now as Kenny hammers back with the Katarina ult is gonna be enough to take down 3, and there goes 4. That's a quadra kill, preemptively stolen, and that isn't even going to be the Infernal Soul. Who needs the soul? We're going to end the game, and that's amazing from In the Trees. In the Trees, coming back with a vengeance. They want this series. Helios League, watch out. We got some competitors. Goodness gracious, what a amazing performance from all 5 players. I am happy, to say the least. What a game.
And that play in general was just fantastic, and I loved it, and I thought it was really it was ridiculous, but you know that he's going for padding his KDA at that point. Okay, so moving on from this one, let's hop over here to the third game of the day, which was Gorilla Muffins versus Pentakill Teemo Please. This game was a long one. This was a
boy, here we go.
So there were I think Baron number 1 went to PTP, Baron number 2 went to Girl, Baron number 3 went to PTP. So that's a lot of Barons. That's like at least 15 minutes of gameplay just for Baron.
So I'm gonna be completely honest. At 30 minutes in, I just started zoning out.
So I will say one thing. And it was probably obviously there's a lot of things that went wrong and went right for it to be a game that was like this, where it was so back and forth. I would say my biggest issue that I actually had with the game is PTP actually had an amazing counter pick top lane. Sion is just amazing into Urgot. And then he TP bot at level 4 and threw away his entire lead and let the Urgot scale for free. And it made the game so much harder than it ever needed to be. And he didn't even get anything out of the TP. He just TP'd and then ended up having to, I think he went mid, cleared a wave, and then went back top. And it was just not a great look. Like when you have a counter pick like that, you want to either be playing to it or leave it alone. And when you're having to bail out your team and throw that counter pick away, it can severely hurt the reason why you even picked it in the first place.
Yeah. Just in general, though, I do think that this game that PTV played and then their next game that they played against CFG does show that. So Pentakill Teemo Please, they had a really rough season last season. It was not good, and already they're 2-0. So they've done a great job improving. I think that the break did them good, and they've come into this, and it seems like they've got a bit of a new fire to them.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy that they're looking good. You know, it's never it's not my team, but it's never fun to see a team go 0-14.
Yeah.
And so it is nice to see them do a lot better and just immediately right out the gate. There's never going to be a 0-14 for PTP this season. You're at least going to be 2-12.
it is nice to see PTP winning. My concerns is they looked mildly shaky in their 2 games, which was against Girl and CFG, who also did not look particularly strong. So I think this week against TG and Rex or against TG and AGS are definitely games to look forward to really test PTP and how they truly stack up compared to the competition.
Yeah, I think this is actually probably, like, once we talk about the Aegis versus Rex game, then we can probably talk about this in terms of just what we've seen in the games. Is I have a feeling that I think Gorilla Muffins, PTP, and Aegis and CFG all kind of fall into that same category of, like, skill level. It feels like that they're matched up pretty well, but INT and RLS are both the huge standouts, and I think that they're going to be the teams that everyone's gunning to beat. So be aware of that anti.
I won't sleep on Rex. I honestly think that Rex and INT are the 2 biggest concerns that I have. I definitely want to get that run back on TG, you know, but INT and Rex are definitely the 2 teams that stand out to me the most as teams that not only are their players mechanically on point, they have a good understanding of the macro and how to close out the game.
Yeah, that they definitely do. And so one thing I do want to point out one more time with this game, though, was Black Venom on the Leona in this game was particularly interesting, I think. I really thought that he did a good job. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like he was doing a lot to really help Ezreal kind of come into their own, like actually be able to do what they need to do. But obviously the Samira just totally outscales an Ezreal as the game progresses once it gets past a certain point. So that was really the big deal there. I don't know if anyone else noticed a particular standout player or not.
Yeah, I actually was really impressed with Pure Llama this game. I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure he doesn't main jungle. I know he didn't play it last season that often, but you know, he actually looked reasonably well in this first week.
Yeah, definitely seemed like he was pulling it out. And so then we go on to the last game of day number 1, which was Aegis Gaming versus Rex Regalis. Yet again, another Aphelios, another Caitlyn, and another Jarvan jungle. So with this one, I really was impressed with Why You Know Doctor. Like, I don't, like, his Thresh, oh my god, where there's some hooks. In fact, I got one of those clips right here that I just kind of want to pop up real quick before we start talking about this.
We have Ornn to peel and get the Ornn item to him. We have Thresh Lantern. Oh, here we go.
Landing. That's a stun Nocturne. He's taking a bunch of damage. Forced to flash out onto the opposite side. Is not going to be able to find his way out. As a pick being found, the Doctor is on duty and he's constantly landing these hooks. That's the 3rd one we've seen so far. Now level 32 Side Duck is in trouble. The Bouncing Bomb is going to put the Leandrius burn onto the Syndra. As now, Child Hater is going to be in big trouble. The Root's going to land. The hook is going to be grabbing up the Kench as he's finding his way onto the bench, but he is going to make it out with a long-range bomb auto attack from Ziggs. Going to be picking.
Was that blind?
Yeah.
It was a blind
Looks
hook.
like it.
Jeez.
So, and it's not over yet.
Was that control ward in that bush at the start of it, or was that placed afterwards?
I believe that was
that's
placed.
blue side's control word.
That's blue side's control, but that was
Oh,
placed.
sorry, that's blue side's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Red is still completely blind right here. They did have a ward in
Great heads up,
Raptors.
Lantern.
Yep.
Yep. And then, you know, you see Aphelios again. Gravitium easily sets up Thresh hooks. He does it all.
Yeah. I thought the
it's
Zig
great
snipe
lane.
was pretty funny.
Mhm.
So yeah, see, that's a blind hook. They do have the Raptor ward there, so they do know that there are people over in that general area, but it was a blind hook. And that control ward obviously was there at the start of the fight.
Yeah, I actually really liked Rex's draft. I would say the one criticism I have of it is when J4 is really, really good at ganking solo lanes, and neither of your solo lanes really has priority. So I would almost say that you'd be better off picking something with priority mid here and just playing more aggressive. I do think Ziggs and J4 are good together, but with Ziggs's priority in the bottom lane, that's much better for you to utilize it with that combination. If I remember correctly, Aphelios was picked. It was red too,
R1.
so it wasn't even like they flexed the Ziggs mid afterwards. So
So this is the pick order.
yeah. So I mean, that's what I would probably point out as the only issue with it. Other than that, I think it's a fantastic draft.
Yeah, definitely. Just a little history of Rex since I've played with all these people except for why you know Doctor. There's definitely like a playstyle mismatch. With Rafa, who's a like heavy aggressive jungler. He wants to be ganking all the time. Joshi and Zenzen are definitely more like controlled lane states. They want to farm it out, but fortunately, I think they have been definitely working towards changing that play style so they can play different styles of play, and I think Rex will be quite good once they get through the season.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say that. Go ahead.
Oh. Yeah, honestly, that's kind of reminds me of RLS, you know, my team. Like I said, I feel like Rex play a lot like RLS because on RLS, I'm the kill hungry person and Escape is the one who just wants to control the lanes. The difference is that I'm on a solo lane and Escape is on AD carry. So it ends up working out with how the game state actually plays. Unfortunately, jungler versus solo laners, that's going to be a very different kind of look. So it's hard to balance that, but once you can work that out, I could totally see Rex being in.
It's something that when we used to play together competitively, it was something that we definitely did find and had a pretty good amount of success of it. I know a lot of the players on Rex like didn't really play League super consistently. Coming into the league, I think they only had like 4 or 5 games of practice before week 1, and so showing clean game 1 and a competitive game their second game, it's something that other teams should take note of and know that once this team starts to practice, they could be a threat later in the season.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. It's like they definitely seem like they have some kind of strat planned, as this clip will show. Like they knew what they wanted to do level 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, the hype is there. I want everyone to let it build.
Oh, do they know?
There's no way.
How do they know?
They're out of vision. This is going to be a pincer, so they're going to see 2 people, but they're going to be walking in, and Phalos is going to die instant. Syndra is going to be taking up first blood. A bunch of damage going on to Rafa as he is going to be trying to get out without burning the flash. The Q from the Nocturne is going to miss, but the binding is going to land. And 2 kills being collected up by Aegis. The coach diff has already begun.
So
the BBZ tech.
I do think one thing that Rex could have done here is they can definitely just look to Jarvan flag over the wall into the bush, or even like Thresh can ward over the wall to see if they're in that bush, and then they can and then they can opt to call the play off once they see that there's 5 people there. Ideally the play pushes whoever's in that bush, it pushes them upwards towards red buff, where Thresh will be able to get a free hook and then come over the wall. So I think it's a really well planned level 1, but AGS just knows something that we don't, I guess.
Yep. I heard a rumor that particular play was an expecting an invade. It wasn't exactly expecting that sort of a play. So they didn't realize that they were hiding off in the wings, which for me makes that even funnier, that it just happened completely by accident.
That was genuinely one of the strangest rock paper scissors sets I've ever seen.
It was, but it was so beautiful. It's such a friend or foe thing to have happen. So it's like I thought it was awesome. I was really upset that I was not shoutcasting that game. But yeah, so like that game, obviously, I think Rex, you're right. We can't be sleeping on them. Aegis, I feel like they haven't had a really good chance to showcase their games because they've had some scheduling issues. So then I know that they've had to forfeit a game, which has unfortunately put them at 0-2 right now because of that. And so I look forward to seeing them eventually get around to competing, and we get to see them strut their stuff, because there's a good comp right there, I think, on their side. That I would have liked to see play out in other games.
There's something about AGS's draft that has kind of been I've been seeing a lot this week. Caitlyn's been played 4 times across both leagues, and it's only won 1 of those games. I definitely, I don't really think Caitlyn's very good right now. I know player comfort is a big thing you want to keep, especially, Caitlyn's somewhat a simple champion to pilot, especially to get through the week 1 jitters. But I think there's a lot better AD carry options right now other than Caitlyn, so I'm interested to see if teams adapt and change their AD carry picks.
I think Caitlyn's good with a purpose.
Mhm.
And if you don't play to that purpose, then there's really no point in picking it.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going for just absolutely getting priority in the bot lane and then transitioning to that mid, grabbing Herald, cracking a tower, getting plates, and just snowballing from there, it's just not worth picking.
Yeah, Caitlyn has to demolish lane to be strong.
Yeah,
Exactly.
The goal on Caitlyn is always to get as much gold as physically possible. So if you're not able to do that, that's going to be rough, especially because against Alk Battery and Doctors, Thresh Helios, and Thresh Helios sends a message: we are going to smash this bot lane on our own.
Yep.
Because we are just the better bot lane.
Yeah, I think
generally
Caitlyn
makes
as
sense.
a champion is just really bad into Aphelios in general.
Mhm.
I don't mind the Kate Morg lane. I mean, BBZ picked it. I think it's a good lane if you pick it for a reason. I think it's a really bad lane into Aphelios.
Yeah.
Unless you just happen to get some bindings early and just chain kill him.
Mhm.
Like that. I mean, that's always something that can happen. But
Yeah,
Aphelios is just really good into both of them.
Like, the thing is just that Aphelios versus Caitlyn isn't something that either of them necessarily hard wins, I don't believe. But the fact that Caitlyn doesn't hard win it, you have to ask yourself the question: why
Yeah,
am I picking
exactly,
Caitlyn then?
exactly.
Yeah, and with that, we're gonna hop over. So that was the end of day number 1. So day number 1, we ended on the Rex Regalis and Aegis Gaming. Going into day number 2 of the Helios League, unfortunately, like I said, we had Aegis have some scheduling conflicts, so they weren't able to play. So that gave Girl a free win. So now Girl is 1-1 and Aegis is 0-2. Really looking forward to seeing what both those teams are able to put out though in the later matches. So we're just gonna hop right into this PTP versus Coinflip Gaming. This game was very heavily skewed, I think, in PTP's favor. They did fantastically against CFG, and it was one of those things where it was a rough game.
Yeah, Graviel and Prilama looked really good this game. The Poppy and Cassiopeia just kind of made it so Rise couldn't play the game. So it was a very good showing from them too.
That is something you do not expect when you see how much damage Poppy can put out in these early levels, but you have to respect the wall stuff.
Oh boy, there's just so little that he could do there. You see Kane's grounded, so he can't Q out. Poppy's got the W up, so he still can't get out.
This was rough.
Oh, this was rough.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's just nowhere for Kane to go.
Yeah, I think as Kane here, you probably have to recognize that Rise is a lot stronger than Cassiopeia, level 3. And so you might just want to opt to go take the crab where the Poppy isn't, because Poppy is very good in this river situation where she can just stun you against the wall, and then from the play, Cassiopeia gets double buffs, and then Rise is definitely not allowed to play the game.
Yeah, in this draft, Cassiopeia was picked before the Kayn was, and then the Poppy was picked as a answer to the Kayn. And in the draft, when I saw the Cassiopeia get picked and then the Kayn afterwards, before the Poppy was even in the picture, I was like, oh, this Kayn isn't gonna have a fun game, because in the early game, if they pick any kind of jungler that has a strong early game and can do something like Poppy can, he's just not gonna be able to get to form fast enough, and he's just gonna be in a really bad position. And that's what ended up happening. Just the ability to make it so you can't dash, a huge part of Kane's kit is being able to, use that Q for the mobility. And it hurts to watch, unfortunately.
It really does.
I remember I was casting this game too.
Yeah, we heard your beautiful voice just now. That is one of the games, though. I think Kayn is a champion. I remember when he was first released, and I was kind of like, oh, he's interesting because he can go through walls in the way that he can. It almost feels like he wants to live in his opponent's jungle. and basically just take all of their camps away from him. But against a champion like Poppy, like we were saying, it's like she just completely negates his ability to escape on her own. And then when you have the grounding from the Cassiopeia, it's just absolutely like there's literally you end up with a situation like this.
Yeah, I mean, you try to run through a wall, she just smashes you right in the wall. You try to Q away, just W right. You know, it's not a fun matchup.
It really is not a fun matchup.
I think it's a very good draft adaptation.
Yeah, it was. I was very happy that the Poppy was picked up as a response.
I think that is a great, again, another example of PTP really improving over where they were last season.
And one of the things that I remember from that particular game in terms of when I was casting it, I loved that draft from CFG until the Kane got picked up. And the moment the Kane got picked up, I thought to myself, this is going to be rough.
Yeah. It does start to seem like it's going downhill there at that point. And then speaking of downhill, we have Terracotta Gaming versus In the Trees. Yet another match where, no offense to Terracotta at all, just it's in the trees. There's really only so much you can do against this team. So I have to ask you guys, what can we do to stop this monstrosity?
Okay. First off, stop banning Sejuani. Like, Bo is a fantastic Sejuani, but the champion is just, like, if you pick Sedge into J4, Viego, any of these champions, she's going to have a horrible time. You should use that ban for a champion like the Viego that was picked, that carried this game. I think it was a big mistake just straight from the ban phase, especially when INT is so focused around the jungle.
I think BoSplit isn't a player historically who has played a lot of the carry style junglers. You know, he plays a lot of like Sejuani, Hecarim, Udyr, which mainly exist to like, you know, cause chaos on the enemy team or just like one shot someone through CC. And it's something I'm kind of impressed with INT using these carry style junglers to be like, hey, don't triple ban jungle or I'll just play another champion.
Yeah, he's got a wide enough champ pool that you can't ban out Bo Explode. You've got to target ban him and force him onto a specific champ so that way you know what you're going to be going up against and you can actually plan for that.
Well, yeah, exactly. But if you remove him from the carry and put him onto something that is more tanky and doesn't have the ability to straight up carry the game on its own, then it's a lot more manageable.
Right, that's exactly what I mean. But even so, you deal with Bo Explode that way, sure. Then you have to deal with the Kenny Hammerspike, who on Aphelios this game, absolutely disgusting. I think this was probably the grossest Aphelios game that we've seen. And what is he going up against yet again? A Caitlyn. It onto that backline to keep Aphelios from actually able to put out any damage, and that's going to allow Iron Tower to start getting off some auto attacks and headshots. But at the same time, if you have Viego and the rest of the team just diving you under tower, there's really nothing you can do to stop it as you just get completely decimated.
You hate to see it. You really hate to see it. You're just trying to hang out and have some good time, get over the CS farm.
And look at that. That is flash flow coming out from He Who Slops, and that is going to be a dead Hextech man.
No mercy. Like, blood in the water. We don't, not after last season, all right?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah, I think people just aren't comfortable with what they think should be going into Aphelios. And they're essentially, like, when I look at this and I see all these Caitlyns being picked into Aphelios, I'm essentially just thinking to myself, well, you're picking a champion that wants to win lane, but you're essentially running away from the matchup because you're picking it just because of the range.
Right.
And like we mentioned before, you're not going to win the lane hard unless things go disastrously wrong on the Aphelios' end. So we're going to have to see a lot of these teams make adaptations and try to find out what they think is good into the Aphelios.
Which is ironic, because it's like, you're right, that is exactly the reason why Caitlyn is getting picked up, because you're thinking, I want range, I want to stay far away, which is kind of diametrically opposed to the way Caitlyn actually plays, where she wants to attack from a distance, but she wants to keep attacking. So I think maybe with the changes coming for Lucian that we see on the horizon, where he's going to now be hitting 44 times with his ultimate if you fully max.
47.
47. Okay, I was short 3. I'm sorry. I forgot one set of an auto and a double auto attack. Okay, but yeah, still, that's gross.
I think having the option to, like, if you think you're the enemy is going to pick Aphelios. I think taking away the Braum and then pairing the Lucian with the Braum after the Aphelios is picked is not only a takeaway to take away the safer option in lane, but it's also a very aggressive bot lane 2v2 that can win in most matchups early, which is typically when Aphelios is at his weakest. Like, yeah, he can do some things when he has like Sniper Gravitum or Red White. So it just depends. I think that could be a viable option as not only a takeaway, but also a lane to abuse.
It definitely is.
One of the big things that stood out to me here was INT taking the Camille into the Volibear matchup, which is historically very bad for Camille. Honestly, one of the things I noticed from Aquapair, I don't feel like they're particularly comfortable in that matchup. But in that matchup, you start E on Volibear, you press the attack, and you literally just start hitting Camille repeatedly, and she cannot do anything to you in response. Like, that's one of those things where Volibear as a champion is very much a stat stick, and if you don't know who you out stat stick, I'm not sure if you should be taking it in the top lane.
Yeah, he's very much like Wukong, Trundle, and a few other champions that are just big stat balls.
There's relatively low outplay potential, but if you're in a winning matchup, you absolutely should slam it. But Brock Lee played that really well. Aquapair, there's more to be desired from them. I'd like to see more.
I completely agree with you on that. I feel like Aquapair, we haven't really seen them perform at a level that I was impressed. It's like they seem like they're doing really good, like they're doing well, but it just seems like they're kind of steady. I want to see them pop off. I want to see them do something crazy. Basically, I want to see them pull a U anti. I need to see.
To be fair, I believe they're transitioning from mid lane from last season.
Yeah.
So
okay.
This is a great change. I think that they're not doing bad in the transitioning phase. I just want to see how far they can take that improvement.
That will be definitely something to keep an eye out for and something to watch. So Aquapair is definitely on our radar at this point then. Which brings us to our last game of the second day of Helios, which was RLS versus Regalis. This was yet another game that I love watching Rex, and it's why Doctor is just been, I love hook supports just as a general, and seeing someone do really well on hook supports is great.
Trying to step into the Trundle jungle. It looks like he got pinched right there. Wasn't able to move because of the way the tower had hit. That is the Ziggs ulti coming down, going to result in first blood, and the Drowsy coming out and burn from Zenzen. Zenzen getting caught right there. We have the Lantern to flash onto it in order to grab it and get away. That was a nice escape, and in the meantime, in the top lane, we've got a fight continuing, and Zoe hopping over the wall, getting a lot of damage, though ultimate coming out from Alk Battery doesn't manage to actually finish him off. Oh, that was a good flay on the Leona in order to keep him from actually getting the stun off. Flash from Zenzen once again as he chases down that Ziggs, making it so there is nowhere for escape to go.
Yeah, this is the point where I hyped up my friends a few minutes ago. Now I get to trash talk my friends.
I was going to ask, how do you think their performance has been?
I actually really dislike Rex's draft. I mean, I'm pretty sure talking with them, they knew they mildly misplayed in draft. I think picking Zoe round one, you can see RLS is just like, all right, they pick Zoe, we're slamming tanks, and then Zoe will not be able to play this game.
Yeah, and like Varus is relatively good in the tanks. I think going on hit was a mistake to an extent. There wasn't a Wit's End coming in early enough.
I think Wit's End definitely.
He could have just rushed Wit's End, but Lethality Varus actually is really, really good into tanks. It does a ton of damage, and especially with when the blight changes came through a little while ago, it made him significantly better into tanks because he can 2 rotation and essentially kill a tank from full. And so I agree with the Zoe being a mistake. I think if you're playing to play a poke comp, you don't want the secondary poke to be coming from mid lane. Ideally, you're going to want it from top lane, or you're going to want it to be top and mid, and then have a tank killer in the bot lane.
Yeah, and fortunately, I get to shit talk Alk Battery after his highly trash talk after beating RLS. Watching him try to play on hit Varus like Lethality Varus was pretty funny to me.
Yeah.
I do think talking with Rex, they're still very confident about their like rate of I still, no one is super tilted on the team yet, so it's still nothing but improvement from Rex, and I do like seeing them do well.
Yeah,
But I also like seeing them lose. I really enjoy watching my team lose because they told us they joined this league because we were too egotistical about winning, and that they told me they were just gonna smash everyone like we did, and so watching them lose this early makes me really happy.
So that's just kind of the
say, except you're welcome.
Get him a little bit of humble pie, I see.
Look at that. Flash stun. Oh, Ziggs ultimate coming down, manages to pick up 3 members. That is a huge amount of damage. We have a lot coming out right now. RLS Intai goes on a killing spree. Look at that. That was a very well-placed Leona ultimate right on top of Varus. Alcalander, he just cannot step up in order to do any damage. He just gets completely bursted down. That is 2 members of RLS for 2 members of REX, but Rex can't respond with a Thresh and a Zoe.
So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff I do have to talk about with that particular game. I will say that draft was a week in the making. Almost every single thing that went down in that draft was something I had a contingency plan for. The only thing I did not have a contingency plan for, I did not think that Rafa played Xin Zhao. And once we saw the Xin Zhao, we were just like, well, now what?
I'm amazed it made it to R4.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I didn't see Xin Zhao at all in Picks and Bans in the first game that Rex played. So I was like, okay, well, I guess they just don't play Xin Zhao, and I don't have a reason to force it here. So let's just leave it as is.
And then it came back and bit you in the butt. But you beat it anyway.
We ended up having a last-second reactive pick that I think worked out really well.
Trundle is amazing in the Zen.
Yes, it is.
Definitely is.
And you can flex it.
And you can flex
it was definitely, you can definitely see the woes of a new-ish team coming in from Rex. I think you can see in a lot of the split-second decisions, they weren't all on the same page, and it caused them to lose a couple fights that could have been winning, and eventually led to them falling to an unbeatable disadvantage.
Yeah, there were too many fights that I lived on like 10 health that honestly I just chalk up to luck. But if you're gonna win off of it, you take those.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just the unlucky crit that sneaks its way through that ends up killing you, and sometimes it's the fact they didn't crit that keeps you alive. All right, and so with that, we've kind of gone over the games, and so we can kind of see exactly who we've got going up against each other next, and that is going to be just looking at these particular games that we have coming up here on the 26th and 27th. Which matches do you think are we going to be like paying attention to? Which ones are some teams that we probably should be watching for that particular game?
I think every match on Thursday are really good matches.
I agree.
They're all against teams that I see and I'm like, these teams are either close in skill or it is a test for an untested team. CFG and Girl are both teams that I'm currently not too high on. I expect this is the battle for 7th place.
Hey, they're going to be fighting tooth and nail for that spot.
The setup to claim the so coveted last playoff spot. So I think that's a really good game. PTP gets their a good test against TG, who had a pretty solid week 1. I think they will keep improving and be strong.
Yeah, I think that's the 5th and 6th in my personal power rankings right there. I think it's pretty much going. I'd say the last 2 matches are pretty much in contention for 1st through 4th, and then the first 2 are 5th through 8th at the current what I see currently.
If the teams aren't improving from where they're
you're definitely gonna be surprised by our overreaction power rankings then.
Oh.
That should be live at the time this is live.
Yeah.
RLS place, baby.
Yep, so be sure to go check those power rankings out, and we will be those will be interesting to see. All right, and what about Friday? Anything particular over there? Because I know that when I look at that one, I think INT versus Girl is going to be a tough one to watch, in my opinion. But I think that it could theoretically be entertaining, especially if both teams take it It's either going to be really quick, INT's going to take it super serious and win really quickly, or it's going to be a meme game and it's going to be interesting.
So, in my opinion, given how I see the strengths of the current teams, I think all the games are going to be one-sided with the exception of PTP versus AGS. I think that could be a good deciding game on where both these teams are actually at especially after the previous day.
I completely agree with you on that.
I'm gonna give you some insider information on the CFG versus RLS match. RLS will be running a sub.
Okay.
So,
And I also heard there's a certain top laner playing in the mid lane.
oh boy. All
Well.
I'm gonna say is keep your eyes peeled. That one should be more interesting than you might have originally been led to believe.
Look, you can just play set mid.
Who knows? We'll see. We'll see.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, it's definitely a day where a lot of teams are looking for upsets, and for the people watching, it might be a mildly boring game or a very exciting day. So it's still something that I still am really excited to watch.
Yeah, well, we will see. And with that kind of covers all the topics that I had. JeffGod, I know that you had something you wanted to bring up right about here. So I will go ahead and throw the floor over to you.
So welcome everyone to the first iteration of Jeff Stats. If you're familiar with Jat Stats, here's the FoF equivalent. So I've been keeping track of match histories from both leagues combined, keeping track of not necessarily player KDAs, but more so champion KDAs. And I have a couple questions for you guys. My first question is which champion played in FoF currently has the highest KDA with at least 2 games played? Not the highest KDA, the most assists. My bad.
Is this Jeopardy style? Because
the most assists.
Is this like who gets to answer first?
Who is Ash?
Off the top of my head.
It is. I can tell you.
Who is LeBlanc?
It is neither Ash or LeBlanc.
Oh
shoot!
Damn it!
Hey!
Wait. You said it has at least 2 games played in ranked or in FoF?
In FoF.
2 games played in FoF.
Fresh. For more information, it actually has 4 games in FoF. It is not a support.
Oh, okay. Set?
It is also not set. Set is actually quite low.
Set is quite. I'm not surprised.
I will say,
low.
It is a champion you won't be surprised when you hear it, but it is still kind of like shocking.
I'm trying to think of the games like where we saw a bunch of the same champion. Caitlyn. We saw a lot of Caitlyn. We saw a lot of Helios.
I will say it is a jungle champion.
A jungle champ.
Who is J4?
It is Jarvan.
Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Jarvan currently is sitting at 65 assists over 4 games.
Okay.
The next closest is Leona at 64. I think yesterday HBlock kind of skewed this stat pretty hard, getting 27 assists in 1 game is Jarvan. But it is still something that is itching. Second question: which role do you currently think has the highest KDA across both leagues?
Has to be AD carry.
What is mid lane?
It is not AD carry.
Not
Really?
AD carry.
It is AD carry was highest as of Monday night. So after Tuesday's games, it changed. Once again, probably affected by a specific champion.
Samira.
Jeez Louise. Well, it's not AD carry though. Well, I said what is mid lane, and that's obviously not it. So
I ran it 2 games in a row, so it's not mid.
Well, Anti and I have already guessed, and because there's so few lanes, I think we have to give it to Red, and he is the last one who was able to get this right.
Oh, I said AD carry.
Oh, you said AD carry?
It is jungle. So far, jungle is averaging a 3.67 KDA, whereas
Your jungle's broken.
the next one AD carry is at 3.62. And the last question I have for you guys is something that I personally find really interesting. So, which role has the most unique champion picks?
Ooh, that
Double question. You can also say which one has the least amount of unique champion picks. If you get both right, you double points.
Oh, okay. Oh, shoot.
Most mid, least jungle.
Most
Any
mid
other
least
answers?
I would say
Most mid, least support.
I'd say most top, least ADC.
So none of you got it completely correct.
Dang it! Oh, completely correct.
All of you got at least one part correctly.
Oh,
So the role with the most unique picks is mid lane. Only 2 champions have been played more than twice across all FOF games.
Ziggs
which
and
is
LeBlanc.
LeBlanc.
LeBlanc and Rise. I'm
Okay.
keeping
No, there's been 2
mid-
Ziggs
mid-
games.
I've been keeping mid and AD carry Ziggs separate.
No, there's been 2 mid Ziggs games. I
There's
played it
one with
against you
BBC.
guys.
Oh yeah,
and-
but you know more than 2 games.
Oh,
More
okay.
than two. More than
Yeah.
two.
So the mid lane has had 18 unique champions. 2 of those champions have been played more than twice, and then 3 more champions have been played twice.
Okay.
So it is definitely very exciting. Least unique role is AD carry. If you actually don't count
Helios Caitlyn.
if you don't count TAS versus UB yesterday, there's only been 9 AD carries picked.
Yeah.
We brought that up to 11 by picking Draven and Kaisa, but yeah, 80 carry is definitely a small champion pool, which I think is reasonably expected since
Even the amount of champions that are actually marksmen.
and we
Yeah.
were talking about mid lane comfort picks earlier, and I think that shows like the champion pools of the FOF mid laners this season is quite unique. Where each player plays a lot of different champions, at least compared to last season, where I know we played against the same few mid laners.
Malzahar, Vel'Koz.
Galio.
No
Galio.
one else played those. We played against like Silas every
Silas.
game.
Yeah, Silas.
Yup.
Okay, yeah, BBZ is kind of the
Vladimir.
Silas
Oh
abuser.
my god.
I have a stat for you.
Oh,
Jeff.
exciting.
And I completely lost my train of thought. Excellent.
Aha!
One more for fun stat while you think of it. Who is the current Friend or Foe Season 4 KDA leader?
KDA leader. I believe
I'm
that
not
would be
stroking your
you,
ego.
wouldn't it?
I'm not giving you that.
I feel like someone just needs to hold up a mirror to the camera at the moment.
It is in fact me. Thank you Sherigan for patting my ego. I have yet to die to another player. I only die to towers.
I remember what it was.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. It's less of a trivia question and more of a why did you guys do this? You guys banned Akshan against me. Did you actually look at my win rate? Because I may have like 20 kills a game, but I lose every Akshan game.
Yeah, well, Akshan is a champion that we don't really like playing against.
He
You
is
know,
a champion. That is.
He does bring a lot of
Is he
tempo
though?
to the game, and we once we see it's like, hey, this guy's switching from AD carry to mid lane. What if we just ban the AD carry mids?
Look. There are so many memes in the BBZ Discord about how the marksman that switches to mid refuses to play the marksman made for mid.
Actually, so some history about UB. The reason why Civillock and I decided to role swap is we were losing a lot of games, and the only games we were able to win are games where I was playing either Tristana or Quirky mid lane. So like, maybe we should just send me bot lane.
That does kind of work. And there is something to point out. I just want to say that with Akshan, they did change his passive on his Scoundrel. So now if he dies, he doesn't get the revive.
Well, the more significant nerf is they weakened his early game a ton by
Yeah.
the damage changes to his E.
Mhm.
That too.
And the
His E
Witender.
nerfs are very significant. Yeah.
Well, I
And the
wouldn't even say it's a
Witender
nerf. It's
buff.
more of a damage adjustment because he gets more damage based off bonus AD, which he'll get as he goes through the game. So the damage will end up being the same as you progress, but it's less early on.
All right. Well, with that, I think that that was that's all we got here for today, and I think we're gonna go ahead and close it out. Just want to say thank you guys so much for stopping by. It was great having you here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is awesome. I love having new faces on the field too. So we're gonna go ahead and we will be catching everybody later. You guys have a wonderful day. We would like to thank our sponsors, Adobe Creative Cloud and Logitech Gaming, for their support. And just remember to be tuning in on our Helios games, which are going to be Thursdays and Fridays, and Luna games, which are Mondays and Tuesdays at 4:30 Pacific time for both days. We look forward to seeing you all there. Make some noise in the chat. Drop by our Discord. I'll be putting the links for that down below. And then be sure to just drop by and say hello, because the person who's always making all these memes, this guy right here, he is
And this
very
guy over here.
He very actually, you would be more to your right.
Am I to your
Oh.
Yeah,
oh,
point
I'm-
the other way. Point this way.
All right.
point that way? Yeah,
There you
thank
go.
you.
This is right for me.
I'll be sure to align y'all's cameras so you're good on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just want to say thank you all so much. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you later. All right, recording is done.